Share it.
Hey. We're live. It's always catches me unaware, that live button, when it goes. So welcome everybody. My name's Claire Kennedy. I am the CEO and founder of Kennedy Street, the recovery charity. I'll catch you up with who and what we're up to. And we've just done our first ever fundraiser, a virtual fundraiser. And we've managed to raise, are you ready? I may have said this last week, but I want to say it again. Drum rolls. We've managed to raise over £6,000. I mean, and the lovely Martye Davies, who's with us today, played a massive part in that too. He was so supportive and so kind, and did lots of running and wonderful activities on our behalf, and got sponsored from his friends and his family, and it was amazing. And Martin's now become a friend of ours, but I'm going to let Kev introduce him to you in a second. I know. You can introduce him again. We like him that much, we'll introduce him twice. We can introduce his project that he's working on, that he delivers, so the business that he does. Yes, so I'll hand over to the gorgeous Kevin. He's on the right of my screen. There we go. Over to you, Kevin.
Hello, everyone. I hope you're all out there feeling safe and enjoying the sunshine today, maybe the last of it before we get into winter. My name's Kevin Kennedy. I am the patron of Kennedy Street and all-round good-looking poster boy. Today, as Claire said, we have the lovely Martin with us, who has been brilliant over this campaign we've been running, doing lots of work for us. And Martin today is going to tell us his story. So without further ado, over to you, Martin.
Thank you very much, Kev. And firstly, I've got to say thanks so much, guys, for inviting me on. I'm still recovering from that run, I'm not going to lie, but it was all for good cause. And it is recovery month, isn't it? And I just want to say to everybody that's watching this that is in recovery, we're all miracles, you know. We're treading these boards every single day, trying to lead a better life. And do you know what? I've got to a stage where I question, how did I get here? How have I found recovery? Because I was in the darkest depths. I am an addict, I'm an alcoholic, and a compulsive gambler. It pretty much ticks every box. And yeah, I'm just really grateful that you've asked me to come on today. And it's a little bit mad, you know, sitting here chatting to you and going to share my stuff, because addiction took me to a place, I'm going to start there, of not wanting to be here anymore, right? And it hurts me to say that. And I just think it is so important to get it out there. You know, people listening in recovery may have known people that, you know, have given up on life and there's nothing left for them. And I was one of them. Until I found recovery. And, you know, thank God I did. I've led a good life. I've led a crazy life. Let's put it that way, as we were discussing off camera a minute ago. You know, looking back as a child, from being in recovery, I noticed certain little things that that stood out. What I used to get up to. I was like a Duracell bunny as a kid, and I used to just obsess so much as a kid over certain stuff. And one of the first things was a session is when the fair comes to our local town, I used to sit up at the window for hours and hours, right, just looking at the lights, watching the big wheel go round and round. And also I was quite happy as a kid in the garden, digging a hole. I wanted to get to Australia, and I'm still digging, right? My dad used to just leave me out of the garden, and I look at bits, and did I come out my mum like this? I don't know. I don't know. But for me, drinking kicked off. That's the first drug I took. Drinking kicked off for me when I was around about 15. I tried it. I've been in my mum and dad's drinks cabinet. If they're listening, they might not know that. But yeah, I was in there quite early on, making those little cocktails. And from about age 8. But at age 15 at school, I noticed something was a little bit, I don't know, you hear it so much in fellowship meetings that I just didn't know where to place myself. But booze, as soon as Martin started drinking booze at lunchtime, it became funny. Everybody wanted to be with Martin. And very quickly from that, I never wanted to be that naughty boy at school, that one that comes in stinking of fags, or the people smoking pot behind the bike sheds, But very quickly I become, I did start smoking marijuana. That's my first drug. But I was really shit at drinking and smoking drugs. I used to be the one that was sitting in the back of my mate's Mini whitening, just sitting there in a mess. But I kept on going back time and time again to do it. And from the first time I drank, I was the Blackout, but that's just all I knew. And at the age of, I think it was about 16 and a half, someone gave me some amphetamine, some speed, right? Boy, I could drink for England on it. It was, I could go for days. And I very quickly got into this, going to clubs, the ecstasy come along. And at age 17, I don't talk about this very much, and we've had a little conversation off air about it. But at the age of 17, I was launched into, how can I put it, a very chaotic lifestyle. My brother played for a very big band in the rave days, and I was obviously the younger brother. And when I look back, being in recovery now, I've really done a bit of work on it recently. When I was seeing him up there in front of like 70, 80,000 people headlining Reading or something, my little inner child was like, look at me, Mum, Dad, look at me. And I don't talk about this a lot because it can come across as ego-filled in the rooms. But you know what? I've got to the stage of recovery that this is my story. And having that in my face at an early age, it made me want to pursue a career in entertainment. And off I went to Butlins, become a little rec coat, and then I become a DJ. But my drinking and using was just out the window. And I got to age 23, and I was working out on the ship, and for the first time, I had this feeling come over me, emptiness. I just had this hole in my stomach. I couldn't get any drugs on the ship. I didn't try in the middle of the ocean. The alcohol stopped working, and for the first time in my life, I realised I didn't want beer. And I went for a walk out the back of the ship, and thought about it. And I'm going to fast forward now. I've been waffling on a bit. I just talk about the last 3 years of my drinking and using. I blamed the entertainment career of all the carnage, all the drugs and all the drink around me, but not realising it was me that was the problem. And I come out of the entertainment game and went into the security game. And I was fortunate enough, I'll say fortunate enough, looking back on it now, I worked in the West End on the door team, but they made me head of the drug search team. And whatever I found, maybe it didn't go in that box, maybe it went in that pocket. And I've come, from the music days, thought I'd arrived, and then I did this job in a nightclub, thought I'd arrived again. But I cracked on up until my last 3 years, and I ended up in a house on my own. I didn't know how to live a life with or without drugs. And it came over me again in that house, just end it. What's the point? Got no friends left. And I started gambling as well. The drugs had stopped, the drink had stopped. I used to sit in that house gambling around the clock, trying to win enough money to buy my drugs and drink. And I first asked for help with the gambling because I'd exhausted all avenues with money and that. I'd just completely run out. But I couldn't get honest. I could not get honest. We know if this stuff's going to work, you've got to get honest. And I managed to get honest and ask for help with the gambling, but I could not talk about drink or drugs. And then an incident happened where I got arrested did, and I had to ask my mum and dad to get me out of the police station. I had no friends left. Just nobody wanted to hang around with me anymore. Like, you know, I come from being this centre of attention, party animal, and I made a decision on Saturday the 13th of December 2018. I put myself into a rehab, and I sold my house, which the only reason I had it was because I was gambling so much, and I could afford to sell it to pay for the treatment. And here I am, sober me now. Yeah.
Amazing. Thanks God for you doing what you did and taking that step, really. Martin, can I just ask you to just check your internet, because you're a little bit crackly. I don't know if you want to maybe turn any other devices off that you've got, so you're a little bit, I don't know if you can hear it, but at my end, we can hear your speaker crackling a little bit. Amazing testimony. I mean, you know, thanks God for your mum and your dad. You know, you're so lucky to have good family around you. I think that's so important. You know, I think it's really makes such a difference when families support us to make those right decisions, you know, and they're picking you up from the police station. And we were talking a little bit earlier about off camera about, you know, your mum and dad picking you up from the police station. Was it from the police station? Talk us through that a little bit. I think it's really important piece of the jigsaw. And I do think, I mean, obviously you took the choice to take that offer, but I think this type of scenario should be happening a lot more in this country. So just talk us through it.
Yeah. Firstly, apologies on the sound.
You're okay now.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
That's cool. Yeah. Intervention. We was having that chat before, and I can remember being released from the police station and just thinking, how can I get home? Who can I call? And like I said, you know, alcohol and drugs just stripped me of everyone. Nobody wanted to be around me. And I just thought, good old mum, she'll come and get me. And she did. You know, I used to run back to mum loads of times. You know, I just used to, you know, they've been amazing. And I just had to do what she said. I wanted to go back to my house when she picked me up, and she's like, nope, you're coming back with us. You're coming back with us. And I ended up going back to the family home, and I said, I'm just going for a kip. And she's like, no, you're not going for a kip. Walked in the front room, there's my dad and my brother, and they just pounced on me. My brother had all this information from friends from years ago that had seen me and just thought, you know what, your brother needs help. He's not right. And my mum sat there and said, what are you going to do about it? Do you know the first thought that came into my head? I can get away with this. I can get away with it, because I thought all my life I had been getting away with it until the last 3 years, where cracks started to show, and people that knew me could see I was a bit gaunt and see I was a bit different. And my brother, and I've got to thank him for doing this because he will be listening. He just reeled off. He had this bit of paper. He's like a newsreader. And he went, right, such and such has said this on this date. Such and such has said, he'd been waiting to get hold of me. But every time I went over to see mum and dad, I had that mask on. I'm all right. But inside I was busted, you know. And, but I got honest, something inside, which I now know, something that has been looking after me for a long time. Yeah. And typical addict style, I went to have a look at a couple of rehabs.
Selected the best one. I think it's great though, and it's really admirable and absolutely brilliantly well done for your family, to your family as well, for doing that, because a lot of families don't have the courage to do that, because it is scary, because we were saying earlier, it can go one of two ways. You know, the addict can either take this opportunity, amazing opportunity, of one that's given with love, where they go, you know what, actually, yeah, I need help. Or the other alternative is, no thanks, you know, I'm not going to take this offer. And as you and I know, and as Kev knows, there's only one way from that, isn't there, which is further down the ladder, you know. So well done to your family for doing that intervention. You don't hear of intervention so much in this country. I used to do a lot of interventions in my private practice before I set up the charity, within businesses. So I used to do workplace interventions and family interventions. And I used to work with a family for 4 weeks before we intervened, because
Wow.
it's such an intricate operation. So fair play to your brother for going to the lengths that he went to get all of that information to show you how loved you were.
This is it. This is it. Totally. And you know, I can't thank him enough. I really can't. At the time, he wasn't my best mate, but you know, the relationship I've got with him today is fantastic.
Oh, I bet they're thrilled that you're back. It is amazing. So Kev, do you want to answer Martye?
Yeah. What's interesting is, about a couple of days ago, I met some friends from school. Hello, if you're watching, and I've not seen them for 45 years or something. And we were chatting, and my addictions came up, and they said to me, "You had a taste for it when you were 14, 15. We could tell then that because you didn't do normal drinking like the rest of us." And I think, and a lot of people have said, you know, was it the fame of this and the fame of that sent you down the road? And I've always said, no. It wouldn't have mattered to me what I was doing. And I want to know, do you feel the same? Because everyone says, you know, because of being in showbiz, it is drug laden and drink laden, which it is. But for me personally, I would have gone down that road, whatever I was doing. And I just wondered if you'd have done the same, Martye.
Totally, Kev. I've often questioned, was it because I went into entertainment at such a young age? But no, because I know that time at school when alcohol started to do something for me, even though I was no good at drinking it, it had me then, because I kept on going back to it. And I kept on trying these different drugs. And why was I doing that? And yeah, I can't blame the entertainment industry for doing that. And you know, there's loads of people in the entertainment industry that don't drink and use like I did. And I just think I've just got overloaded with drink and substance from a young age.
Yeah.
And that's all I knew. That's all I knew. And then going through life, just not knowing any different. And just thinking people like my neighbour that's out there washing his car at 8 on a Sunday, what the heck, what are you doing, you weirdo? You know, doing normal life stuff. And I'm indoors just with the curtains closed, just, you know, off my head.
Well, I've been lucky enough to work with a lot of casts, and the average age is between 20 and 25, and they don't drink like I used to drink at that age. And I think that's testament to the fact that a lot of information is out there now and the dangers of it. And it's also a testament to them. They're professionals, and they look after themselves. They do the gym. I mean, and I was in the theatre at 23, 25. And, you know, I just go to the pub. I never go to the gym. What's that? You know, we used to finish the show, go to the pub. And I think, you know, that nowadays, I mean, it's brilliant, the fact that they don't fall into the same traps that I did. But then again, having said that, I would have done it whatever I was doing. And I want to ask you now, we like to concentrate on the positives as well. What came back into your life, and what are the good bits, you know, of your sobriety? What are the highlights?
Highlights. I'll be honest, there's so many. What has come to me through doing recovery, it's very easy to be in recovery and just tiptoe around it. You know, I've had to work at a very, very hard program, and I do every single day. And through doing that, the rewards that have come, I had an idea. It brings us on to my little project that I've been working on, which, as I said earlier on, I couldn't see a way of enjoying myself with or without. drink or drugs. And the last job I had, I worked booking comedians, professional acts. And I had this idea that why don't we take alcohol out of a comedy club and just do a sober show? And my old boss, I'll be honest, laughed at me and said it wouldn't work. And I trialed it on the 16th of December last year. And do you know what? Sober is Fun is all about just having fun sober, because I didn't think I could achieve it. And achieving that, from going from one show with 35, 40 people, we've ended up moving to a bigger venue. We have 100 people in, sober, laughing out loud. And I always had ideas when I was drinking and using, like all these crazy ideas, how I was going to do this business and do that business and make this work. But then you wake up in the morning and you just be like, nah. I think a lot of us done that, all these, but to actually follow something through and have Sober is Fun just out there, and the feedback from the acts, the professional acts, they all didn't know what to expect, because, you know, a comedy club with no booze, what are you talking about, mate? But everybody that's been and performed at the shows, they're like, wow, there's no chatty customers, everyone's attentive. And it's just, I think, achieving that and getting sober, yeah, it's a big one, because I never thought I'd achieve anything.
I think it's brilliant. I think it's so needed, so needed, because sobriety is fun. People,
who knew?
Nobody knows that. It's such a revelation. You know, we're not a glum lot, as they say in meetings. We're not a glum lot. In fact, I can honestly say, hand on heart, I've never laughed as much. And the great thing is now is I get to remember the jokes I was laughing at.
This is it. This is it.
I do think that in the rooms of the fellowships, tragedy and comedy are like this. They're very close together. This is why we laugh at people slipping on a banana skin, or we laugh at situation comedies where the situation gets so ridiculous and it just becomes very funny. But if you took the humor out of that, someone falling on a banana skin is quite a dangerous thing, but we still laugh, right? It is. It could like break your back or something, or someone falling off a ladder. We laugh at it. And comedy and tragedy are like this. And I have been in the rooms and people have told their stories. And I don't mean this in a disrespectful way, but it's been the funniest thing I've ever heard, because it's so dark. And it is so dark. If you filmed it, or if you actually took that as a script and used it, people would just be falling about, because it is very, very funny. And I think it is important that we laugh. I've never laughed so much as I have in the rooms as well, because in the rooms of the fellowships, the stories are true, and they can't help it. They're funny, because tragedy is funny sometimes, of how things gradually fall apart and you lose things, and then this happens and then that happens. That's the basic of comedy, because all comedy has got to have a victim somewhere along the way, and either the victim's someone else or it's you. And that is why stories of recovery are the most funniest things I've ever heard. And laughter, even laughing at ourselves, is a great healer. He's a great healer. And I think people in recovery laugh harder, and because they recognize the tragedy of it. So it's important. So, and what is that? What have you got plans? Have you got for Sober is Fun in the future?
Well, obviously there was that breaking news that we saw last night about going back, reduced numbers for social gatherings. And I think there's an announcement this afternoon at 4 o'clock, and I had set plans in place to start to go back to the Essex Alcohol-Free Comedy Club, which is in Chelmsford in Essex. I'm just hoping that we can get a socially distanced show back up, because the people, like you say, Kev, we do like to, once you get to a stage at your recovery and you can look back and actually laugh, you know, I think it's amazing to get to that stage. And we had comedian Mike Gunn join us a year ago. A lot of you probably know Mike, and he's over 30 years sober now. And he actually done a full-on set regarding addiction. And you know what? The laughter in that room, you know, people were crying, but laughing at themselves. And I just want to get the atmosphere, because it's hard to describe a room of 100 people sober, crying with belly laughter, you know, not enhanced. And I just hope I can get back to that. And it is still a fine line. Likewise, there's a show that I do in London as well, the London Alcohol Free Comedy Club. We run a couple of shows there, but unfortunately, you know, due to social distancing, it's just too small to actually do it. But as soon as these guidelines come back, I just want to get it up, because it's not just business, it's giving people in recovery something to go to that is good, that is a good event. And all the acts, you know, that I use, they are professional, because it's so important to have that when you come to an event, to have that first experience and want to come back, you know. So it takes a lot of doing, and to look, and you know, I know a lot of acts through my journey, but I'm just hoping, you know, that we'll be allowed to get back up, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, is it financially viable now with at the size of your rooms, or?
This is it. It's, to be honest, with reduced capacity in the room, probably not. But as long as I can look at breaking and putting on this event, I will do it. You know, it does take a lot of work, but when I first done that first show back in December 2018, it was more kind of the giving back, because I had all these people I'd worked with. I thought, you know what? I'm going to put this event on. I want people to come and experience it. And that's how it's kind of just snowballed. But I will give it another go. I'm just hoping this announcement at 4:00, you know, it's a big one for a lot of people.
Me too.
Yeah.
Presumably, it's not just for people in recovery. It's for anyone who wants to come along.
This is it. And do you know, our audience were predominantly people in recovery, but what we've seen, which is fantastic, is people that do drink decided to take a night off.
Right.
And what a message.
Yeah.
You know, to come.
The professional acts, do they change their set at all, or do they just do their normal set as if the room was full of drunk people?
They do their normal set.
Brilliant.
There's a lot of great acts that are now sober. Paul Pirrie, Jeff Boys, Eleanor Conway, and I have used them in the shows because I think it's important too. But yeah, normal comedians will come and do normal comedians. Normies will come and just do their normal set that they might do in a comedy store. You know.
And can I ask you, what did the people that came along and did their sets, maybe possibly even for the first time ever in front of a sober or completely sober audience, how did they react? How did it go down with them, the professionals?
This was something that I wasn't too sure how it was going to go down. And I asked Mike Gunn the other night when I was doing my straight talks on the Sober is Fun page about what was your first thought when I asked you to come and do it. And he goes, I'll be honest with you, he's like, sober, just for the boring people. That was his first impression. He didn't realise till he got to the actual venue that the majority of the people were like us. They were in recovery. And he actually said, I saw Mike Gunn smile, and that takes a lot. And we couldn't get him off stage. And I know he had a good show. And, you know, I spoke to him and the acts afterwards. They just think it's fantastic because people are attentive. They're not chatting. And they can do all their material without being interrupted. And Karen Bailey, fantastic stand-up from Brum. She done our Christmas show last year in Chelmsford. And she actually put on her social media, it's her best Christmas show she's had. And she's a busy girl. And it's because we are there to take in the night, experience the atmosphere, and we're not there for the booze or just to get wasted.
we're there for the fun of it. We're there because we want to have a laugh. And I think it's beautiful. I think, like you've just explained, Martin, my experience, as you know, I've been doing all sorts in the community forever. And for the last 22 years, I've been doing stuff in the community, seeing what works, what doesn't work. And my experience, I used to put on pop-up dry bars to see if it was a viable business idea, and also to see if people would come, because the beauty of recovery is we do have a bridge to normal living, so we can go to places that does serve alcohol, maybe not in the first 12 months, but we can do normal stuff. So for me, it was such a revelation when I was putting on these dry bars, and sort of, as you called them, normies were coming, normal people were coming. And what really shocked me was the amount of young people that were coming. There's a massive, massive, massive community of young people that are coming up now that they're not bothered by drinking and drug taking. That, they want to have alternative spaces where they can go and they can sit and they can still have fun. They can sit with the mates. There's no pressure. There's no, oh, shall we have one? And then it leads to 10. And that was the feedback I got from the I call them the civilians, the normal people out there, was, do you know what? Not everybody's that bothered about drink. I mean, which was a strange concept to me, to be honest, but I was like, oh, okay then. And to be honest, they were the majority of the audience that came. They were the majority. So a fair few recovery friends came, but majority of the people that came were young people that didn't drink and drug, and other people that support the stuff that we do, because we're all affected. Like I think
that's because the three of us are addicts. We surrounded ourselves with people who had the same appetites as we did, and that's all the only people we kind of mixed with, because that's the only people we wanted to mix with, and we do forget that we are different from everyone else. Lots of people don't drink, and I think lots of people didn't drink when we were drinking. We just that we didn't know they were out there because we didn't mix with them.
Yeah. And I think family members, though, like you were saying, Martin, your mum and dad and your brother, I think because they are so positively impacted by recovery, and I call it family recovery. So obviously your family is in family recovery. They have knowledge, they have understanding, they have compassion and empathy, and they understand that this isn't a moral failing, that you had become a poorly man, you'd not become a bad man, you'd become a sick man, and that you needed to get well, and they appreciate that. So those sorts of family members come to our types of events and they support and they get involved, because do you know what, we've said this before, for every one active addict, 10 people are affected, but for every one recovering addict, 10 people are affected. So, and it's all for the positive. So I think it's brilliant. I think, all power to you. I think why can't you put on a comedy show online or outside? Or
I have thought, I've been holding off doing the online because it's all about the atmosphere, experiencing the room full of laughter. But I was only thinking about this last night when I saw on BBC News about the numbers of groups up to 6, and I was just thinking, do you know what? If it can't happen, I think I am going to have to go that way and do an online show. But it is a shame. It is a shame, and we were getting somewhere. My good friend Ben, who's in recovery, he came on board to help me because we started to get busy just before lockdown. The shows were going great and had all these shows, had to cancel about 5 other events that we had going on. And yeah, I do need to go to the drawing board, but yeah, I'm just hoping that this announcement later, I don't know, but maybe online.
Yeah, I think there's got. Listen, I mean, they're doing it with theatre productions now. They're doing it with ballet. They're doing it with also, there's got to be a way. I think if there's anybody out there listening that's got any ideas or any suggestions, or my experience is asking for help is brilliant. And it's so liberating, and also it allows other expertise in. There's lots of ways to crack a nut, as they say.
Yeah.
And I think I think Jason Mansford's gone online with some comedy shows that he's been putting on. What's to stop you doing this? And I keep saying to Kev, we've got to think of something. We've got to think of something. The girls need Clark shoes. We've got to make a living somehow. You know what I mean? This industry that you're involved in, that Kev's involved in, it can't stay shut forever. It
really, really can't. Just hoping for a good announcement later, but it was getting there, wasn't it?
Yeah. Well, I think as regards people drinking at venues, it doesn't, in my experience, and which is pretty extensive in theatres, people, apart from maybe on a Friday night and a Saturday night, people don't drink to come to the theatre, or I don't think people drink to go to the cinema. So there's no real need for for it to, and it's regulated. People are looked after when they come in. So hopefully, I hope it all comes back this afternoon. So I'm with you on that one, mate.
Yeah.
Thanks, Kev.
I think something's got to give, hasn't it? Something's got to change, because they can't keep all these amazing theatres in darkness. And like you say, I mean, I'm not being funny or anything. Ain't rocket science. If they're opening the pubs where you've more chance of some stranger licking your eyeballs, and then, do you know what I mean? And you sat next to somebody in a civilized theatre who's got a mask on, who's not drunk or high. It's like, what's going on? Let's rethink this, really. I think something's got to give. I really do think something's got to give. But I've loved having you come and join us. And like I say, I really appreciate your support. And I know that you want to put on an event in Brighton once we get
Love to.
I would love that. I would love, and I honestly appreciate your support, your family's support, everything that we've been doing. You've been really behind us and running all over the joint to raise funds. Looks exhausting. I've just walked my 5 kilometres on a number of occasions. But no, we really do appreciate your support and your kindness. And we've got some lovely comments as well. Here's one, let me show you. Off Jane, absolutely. Laughter is so important. Martin's events are excellent.
Oh, I'll pay you later, Jane.
Thank you, Jane. And somebody else, Amy, said such important conversations to be having. These are important conversations. People out there are dying because of addiction and because of, and we've not even talked about gambling addiction. You told us earlier about, you're a compulsive gambler, and how many people, I mean, do you want to touch on that a little bit? And your recovery?
Yeah, sure. Very, very quickly. I know time's getting on. But when I was at the end, at that stage in my house, when the drink and the drugs had stopped working, I was like looking for the next thing. And I could always place a bet, like once every few months on the horses. Only a little bet, it was fine. But I missed the Grand National. I missed the time of getting out the house to the bookmakers, and somebody said, go online and do it. So went online, placed this bet, and everything started flashing. To an addict, I was like, whoa, what does that one do? What does that one do? And then all of a sudden, I'm up at the end, just horrific for days on end, still drinking and using, but also with my laptop now open. And being under your influence, I had no fear, obviously, that had been eliminated. And I was just pressing this button to transfer. And I remember when I broke to the parents on that, my dad's got the printouts, and one evening session online was 12 pages of A4 paper back to back, and each little line was a transaction. That is where I got to. And I actually, as I said earlier, I broke to my family. The only reason being, if I'm honest, I ran out of money. And I borrowed from everybody, from family, from my mum and dad, from my brother, from my best mate, Alex. And I just thought I've got nowhere to go. But what I did find, and I just want to give them a shout out, Break Even is a charity that helps people recover from gambling addiction. And it can be very easy to sweep under the carpet. But I've found by talking about it in meetings and stuff, when I pop that into a share or into my conversation, makes people think, oh, do you know what? I used to do the football pause. And then all of a sudden I've ended up. But the thing was, I had this one-on-one counselling with this lovely lady, but I used to turn up there a sweaty mess where I hadn't been asleep for days. And I used to go to the pub when I come out to tell everybody I stopped gambling, and then just get absolutely shit-faced.
It's insane.
Insanity.
It is. And the true definition of insanity is repeating the same behaviour, expecting a different result. And it's great that I'm so glad that you've got a full knowledge of your condition, because it is a bit like whack-a-mole for some people. You know, you hit drinking on the head here and it pops up here in drug addiction. You hit drug addiction on the head there, it pops up here with gambling. Pop that on there, then we might be a bit of sex, might be workaholism, might be spending. You know, I know so many people have been ringing our helpline during this pandemic around shopping online. Family members, one family member had spent £95,000. I mean, it sounds like a lot of money to get through, but guitars, you've always had them. You've collected them over the years. He's not allowed. He's got a ban on guitars. He's not allowed to buy any more guitars. That's.
If anyone wants to send me one free, thank you very much.
And what was the?
Love them.
Yeah, it was sponsored when he was a rock star by Godin, wasn't he, Kev?
Godin, yeah. So yeah, I love it. That is probably my vice now. Guitars.
Yeah.
What about that gadget, Kev, that we was talking about when you done that chat for me? How's that getting on?
The complete audio 6. The complete audio 6 is mad. No, I've spent time on it, and it works. And GarageBand, and I managed to get it all sort of going. But that is something. It's like an addiction, but it's pretty much a safe one. But I do get lost in it, and that's good. I think that's good because it's a positive thing. I mean, for example, when in early sobriety, I was PlayStation mad, and that's because I think it got myself out of myself for a while, and I was more concentrating on that. I'm not saying that it's a good thing if you 24 hours a day. No, that's not good. Use it for what it's there for. It's just for entertainment for an hour, just to get out of your head, and then leave it alone.
I think as well, what's important, what we've talked about here, and I know that I have got an addictive nature. Before I picked up a drink or a drug, I had an addictive nature. I was an all or nothing type of girl. I was an all or nothing type of child. You know, I know Kevin was, because he's told me some of the antics he used to get up to before he picked up a drink, and his mates reminded him of, you know, what it was like when he was younger. And I think the greatest gift we've given our children, I mean, we don't go on about addiction to our kids, but what we do talk about openly and honestly is recovery from addiction, because it is part of our personalities. For me, it's about my program. My recovery helps me stay balanced. So, and Kev uses creativity to stay balanced. It's so important. I mean, if it weren't for his guitars and his little, what's that box called again, Kev? Oh, he's on.
It's the complete audio 6.
If it wasn't for that, honest to God, I might have murdered him, because it's kept him entertained. He's learned how to do all these amazing things, and because of his addictive nature, he's like a dog with a bone. He's not been able to stop until he's known how to do the drum track, how he's known how to do this, that, and the other. So it's for good, isn't it?
It is good.
Addiction, personality, and what you said before about ego. Ego is all right if it's channeled the right way. Ego is a very positive emotion, a very positive feeling. It is that feeling of I can do anything, which I think as our recoveryans, as our daughter called us, you need that. You need that. I mean, certainly in my recovery, I was told you stop drinking and you can do anything, and I really took that on board to the point of ridiculousness, where I really did think I could do anything, and I did. And to certain levels of success. But I mean, there's certain things that I would never have attempted drunk, because we had that feeling of the imposter syndrome. No, I shouldn't really be here. And I don't think that's something to do with alcoholism. I think that's general across the board. That is quite a common thing now, in the imposter syndrome thing. But positivity and ego, if they're channeled in the right direction, they could be a great help in recovery.
I think ego is very misunderstood. I'd love to do a whole afternoon chatting about ego in recovery, because, like Kev said, we're born with an ego. We're born with, when we're created, when we're born into the world, we're born whole. And then what happens as we grow older, this is my interpretation anyway, is our characters develop, and this is where this faulty ego starts to emerge. And what, for me, my recovery has given me is a much more balanced view on my ego, on my personality, on my addictive nature. And the way I interpret it is, it's my motive behind doing stuff. So if I'm doing stuff purely because I'm going to benefit, and I'm driven by that absolute greed, because I can do anything I make, I'm going to make £1 million and it's going to be all for me, and that's a bit that's unhealthy. That's unhealthy ego. But for me, what my recovery's taught me is, it's good to achieve things. It's good to want to do stuff for me, that's the whole nature of what I do in the community. I serve, and I do it because it's not about me anymore. I put energy in that just that passion, really. It's a passion for people, isn't it? It's a passion for helping people just to achieve their greatest potential. And I think
it is. And we see it through now. I was talking earlier on about having all these crazy ideas when you're drinking and using, but like you were saying, when you get an idea and you're sober and just running with it, it is healthy. It is, because I do want to achieve now. There is still a little bit of me, which we should never forget the past, shut the door, but there's a little bit of me that thinks, right, I've been given this new chance now. I've found myself, and why not have a go? And I think that's healthy, to have that ego, to want to achieve, and not just sit back and be, I don't know, one of the coffee gang, just sit around talking about people. That's not me. I want to.
Or moaning, because I meet a lot of people who moan about the situation, and they're like, poor me. And it's a dangerous game to play. It's about being proactive. We've been given this amazing gift. The way I look at it is, I don't take it personal now. If I do something and it doesn't succeed, then it wasn't meant to be.
Exactly.
If I do something and it's successful, it was meant to be. And I just wear it loosely now. I just say, what, I'm given these amazing opportunities. I meet some amazing people. My purpose is to find out what that's all about, and how we can move forward collectively to make an impact, because I do think that, that's what another thing that recovery has given me, is the insight that if we do stuff together collectively, we've got a far greater chance of trying to do it on our own.
Exactly.
Okay. So, sorry, Kev, are you?
I'm just anchoring here. So I want now to ask Claire what the future is for Kennedy Street. And I know you've briefly touched on it, Martin, but your hopes for not just this afternoon, but your hopes for the future for your various charities, or our various charities, I should say.
So go on, Martin. You go first. You tell us what's planned.
Yeah, apologies. Yeah, just touch on what I said earlier. You know, I want to grow Sober's Fun, and I've had people contact me from all different parts of the country, and like I said, we'll get one up down in Brighton for you once, you know, we know more. And it is just picking up and running with this now, because no one's done it to a professional level. We know that your dear friends up north, we spoke about Dry Umbrella, they had some cracking comedy nights. I saw them. But the model I've got, and now I've got the professional comedians know what it's all about and they want to be part of it. It is now just channeling it and just moving it. But I'm held back by what I can do. But yeah, if there's anybody listening that's out there that needs a good quality sober comedy night, feel free to drop us a message.
Absolutely. And like I say, you know, we'll keep people in the loop, we'll keep people informed. Love you to come back and, you know, keep us up to speed on how it's all going. I know some really funny people as well in recovery who they don't actually know how funny they are, could potentially be sober comedians. One lady in particular, I'd love to introduce her to you because she's actually started writing now, because she's hysterical. So I'd love to introduce you. Yeah, I will. And thank you so much. Yeah, come to the Isle of Wight. John Elford, he does a lot of stuff in recovery. He's a great
man. Do
you know John?
We have spoken. He's a very good man. Yeah. The hotel. Let's give him a shout. The Sober Hotel.
Yeah, he's a great man. And that's what I mean about we know some brilliant people. Yeah, so for us as Kennedy Street, you know, we're just doing whatever it is that we can to share the message of hope. We want to continue to offer our recovery helpline nationally. So we are putting on more fundraising events throughout the year, because we're not, you know, we don't have permanent funding. We were so lucky to get a small pot of funding from the big lottery, and we've had some funding from Sussex Community Foundation, and like I say, we got some funding raised, which was amazing, for the Road to Recovery event. But it is a continuum. You know, for us, we've got to work on having a strategy over the year and just getting the message out there. So my passion is just to share with people, you know, we've got people ringing from all over the country, all over the world, not just all over the country. People, Facebook is global and people see these talks. I've had phone calls from Peru, Namibia, Africa, and one from Paris the other day, a guy in Paris who's working remotely, absolutely crippled with alcohol addiction, and within half an hour connected him to an English speaking person in recovery in Paris that was like round the corner from where he lived. So, you know, we are so blessed, so blessed. So thank you so much for being part of our recovery family, and yeah, look forward to hearing from you in the future, Martin, and finding out how Sober is Fun is coming along.
Thank you, and thanks again, guys, for inviting me on.
You're welcome. Lovely to see you. Bye, everyone.